Good morning, everybody. If you've been to this channel before, this might look a little bit different than what you're used to. Usually I'm on Wizard101, and I've done a few build videos for that. But today, because there was a free week membership a while ago, and the Slade Summer Showdown giving me 2 weeks of free membership, plus the 50% off membership going on right now, I've actually been playing a lot of Wiz. And with that, I've been able to get 2 max builds together for my life and my death. So today I'm going to be showing you my life max solo build. Now, there's 3 field markers that I look for in a good build, or at least a good solo build. That is at least 200% damage. This may be different if you're ice, but for life, you can definitely hit 200 comfortably. Next is 100% accuracy. For life, you only need, I think, 15 for your shadow spells and spells that have lower accuracy, and then 10 for your normal spells. So with this build, 34 is plenty. And then the third field marker is a 100% power pip chance. And with this build, I do have a perfect power pip chance. So let's get into the build. At the top here, I'm running the Vibrant hardback helmet. This is the Forbidden Library crafted helmet. I believe it's identical to the dropped helmet. I'm not 100% sure on that. But for the Forbidden Library gear, you can farm the reagents at tier 0. So you could come in with a max and a level 3 or something. Do the dungeon over and over until you have the reagents, and then when you want to craft the max gear, you have to run it through the max tier. So that's the only thing that's a little bit annoying about it, is you're gonna have to do the max tier at least once in order to craft everything. But it just gives a ton of health, a ton of block, a ton of resist, and some good stats that are pretty comparable to things like Reaver or Selenopolis gear. Up next, I am running the Lively Nightmare coat. This is the only piece of gear that's crowns in this, and I had this before, so I was just running it. But compared to the Reaver armor, it's actually better. I didn't know it would be better. But compared to the Reaver armor, it gives more health, more pip, more block, more damage. But you lose out on a bunch of crit and some pierce and some accuracy. So you could definitely run the bold Reaver armor. You'll just have to look at your pip chance and try and swap some things around. And you also do get a nice blade. But if you're going to be running the amulet that I'm running, then this blade will be redundant. For the boots, I am also running the Forbidden Library boots. So I am running Forbidden Library boots and hat. But compared to the Reaver boots have more pip chance, less block, less resist, but more damage and more crit. And if you notice, it's a difference of 2. So if we were to lose 2% pip chance here, we would gain it back using the 2% pip chance on the boots. So you could run the same build with the Forbidden Library hat, but use Reaver robe and Reaver boots and still maintain the 100% accuracy and 100% pip chance if you follow the rest of the things here. For the wand, this is where I kind of swap sometimes. Right now I'm running the bold Reaver boomerang with the tier socket that gives a feint that I crafted, and it just gives a little bit of accuracy and some better stats compared to the other one I use, which is the Aeon sword. The Aeon sword and the Reaver boomerang give a ton of crit, a ton of damage, some good conserve, some good pierce, and some block. But the main difference between them is the jewel. For the Aeon sword, you get a square jewel, which I think at this point, the best use of it is the high amounts of health. And if you notice the 775 plus my current health, that would go to about 15,000. So that's why I might swap, but you also see that with the dex as well. I think the bold Reaver boomerang is a solid pick here for the feint and then the better stats. Because it is superior in pretty much every way to the Aeon sword. It gives more block, more crit, more damage, more conserve, it gives accuracy when the Aeon sword doesn't, and it gives more pierce. Athame, amulet, and ring, it's pretty simple. I'm just running Reaver, Reaver, Reaver. The main difference between them is just my jewel selection. On my Athame, I'm running the sharpened, the item sharpened, double pierce, and health. On my amulet, I'm running damage and accuracy, and on my ring, I'm running the item potent, damage, and outgoing. This outgoing, wait, I can just swap the outgoing for health. We're gonna take a brief intermission here. I did not realize that the ring gives a square jewel and that I socketed a mending jewel on it. I can actually put square on it, which will give me the 15,000 health. So we are live updating my build as we're here. Let's see here. All right, sorry about that. With the ring, I swapped my mending that I had, for some reason was on there, and I swapped it for the 700 health. So this build does get you to 15,000 health, 200 damage, perfect accuracy, and perfect pip chance. For the pet, you could go a lot of different ways with this one. I personally run quad damage proof with Mighty. Ideally, I would be running triple double mighty so that I would have 17 resist instead of 11, and I would only lose out on 4 damage. So ideally, it would be dealer, giver, proof, defy, and mighty would be your 6 talents. But I mean, this pet was like a first try pet. I am not complaining at all on how good this pet is. Mount, for me personally, doesn't matter. I don't have any stat mounts, but you could run Battle Narwhal, you could run the Gulcher, you could, if you have a Frillosaur, you could run the appropriate pet, the pet dinosaur from the Horde pack, I believe it is. I forget which pack it is. If you're, for some reason, you have like 90% power pip chance, you could run the Rock mount for the extra 3%. But this, I mean, ultimately, I think those stats are pretty minimal, so you can just run whatever you want here. And then for the deck, I am running the Bold Dream Reaver deck. But you pretty much just want a deck that gives a Circle Jewel because you'll socket the 9% damage. And it also gives a Blade, which is applicable for Life and Storm, which is pretty important. Because some people might not use the Star Blade if you're doing like a team-up thing. So you have an extra buff that some other people might not have. So now that we've gone through the build, I will quickly tell you where every piece of gear is from. The Vibrant Hardback Helmet is easiest for me because it doesn't cost any money, is easiest in the Forbidden Library Gauntlet. The Nightmare coat is available in the Nightmare pack or the applicable gauntlet, which is, I believe, the Nightmare Gauntlet. But if you're going to be running Reaver armor, this is dropped from Malice. For boots, same thing here, Forbidden Library Gauntlet, and the Reaver boots are from Malice. For the wand, this is also dropped from Malice, or just like the main, just like every piece of gear and the jewels in Wallaroo, if you get the applicable badge to that boss that drops certain gear, you can craft it at the gear crafter or the crafters that spawn after you beat that dungeon. So for this personally, I didn't get this dropped, I crafted it from the guy. The Athame is from the Valencian Fleet Fight. That's on the Doom Moon back in Novus. The Amulet is dropped from the Crash Bandicoot side boss in Wallaroo. The ring is dropped from Freddy Croker, who is one of the last bosses in Wallaroo. Pet, I got this from the kiosk. Mount, I got this for gold in the Crown Shop. And for the Reaver deck, I got this from Mr. Montgomery, who's also on the Doom Moon. As for the jewels, I pretty much just either got them dropped from Malice or Freddy Croker, or I just crafted them here. They all cost 10 Dream Water. So the thing is though, you cannot craft damage jewels for other schools unless you have the Malice badge and it's at the end of the Malice dungeon. So like I was able to craft Storm jewels for my Storm on this character because it was at the end. It was the crafter at the end of the Malice dungeon. But if I wanted to do it here, that's not available to me. I can only craft the ones that are life school only. Also, I really wouldn't recommend using Dream Water on Pierce jewels because if you're going to be running the Malice dungeon 15 times, you get a ton of Pierce jewels. You don't need to spend the Dream Water on them at all, which is a mistake that I did make. But yeah, that about covers this max life solo build. This is going to be, as you can see, I'm not finished with Selenopolis. This will be the build that I use to solo Selenopolis with. Obviously, besides team up for some of the key bosses like Waking Tree, Khonshu, and everything like that. But who knows, I might try and do a solo of them. But this is the build that I will be soloing the rest of Selenopolis with. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little change of pace into Wizard101. I'm going to be doing some other Wizard101 stuff because I have a membership for right now with the half-off membership. So yeah, I hope you enjoy, and I will see you next time.